there are reasons why kids and adults are triggered by certain words, by certain situations, that there's this felt experience that our nervous system doesn't ever forget. Before our mind perceives, I'm not talking about perception. I'm talking about our nervous system is way ahead, and it's a term that they call neuroception. Neuroception is when these neurons fire, and before you can even respond, the neuroception is picking up, this is familiar, this is dangerous, you need to shut down, or you need to fight, or you need to flee. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, joined here with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
And we started talking about just our values. And for those in business, you have values. Question is, how big of a deal are those values? Are they truly the filter through which you run every decision through? Is that how you hire? Is it how all of HR works? Is it how you discipline? Is it how you correct? Is it how you fire? Like, is it the standard? That's the great thing to think about. And then as it pertains to family, it's the same thing. We have filmed a series here. We're in our third lesson, I think, of Thrive, which is our new curriculum series. And it's all about just flourishing and maturing and growing. And we want kids to thrive and live a 5-star life. And it's interesting. We start out with the first lesson, Mia. Speaking of values, we are the story we tell ourselves. That's where we kind of started with kids as they kick off the school year. Like, just ask them the question, what stories are you telling yourselves? Because we truly are the story we tell ourselves. Like, it's also subconscious. Like, we don't always recognize the stories that are going on inside of us. But there's so many people that are living a story that's very fearful or very anxious or very selfish or very prideful or very stressful. And we don't know why we have these things and these low hums in our lives, but it's because there's stories that are going on. Going into workout, there's a story we're telling ourselves. Going into a meeting, there's a story we're telling ourselves. We're always telling ourselves a story. So it's fun to dive into that with kids.
Yeah, and and then to hear when you're sitting with people and to hear when they can express the stories that they tell themselves. It's so, it's heartbreaking what we tell ourselves. We're awful to ourselves in some situations.
Yeah, I mean, the stories that and it's, what we do is so fun because we get to do this for kids, with kids. We get to do this with our staff too. And it's amazing how often staff performance, my performance, your performance comes down to these stories, and we've grown up together the last 20 years and we've watched each other go in and out of stories that were impacting how well that I'm doing video curriculum, how well I'm leading a meeting, how well we're interacting with our staff based on the insecurities that we have. And it's the stuff that a lot of people don't want to think about. And I'm not saying you should spend all your time thinking about this stuff in business, like you're making things, you're doing business, but it's amazing how impactful those stories are in how we show up.
Mm-hmm. I know you talk about when you walk in a room, you kind of reset yourself, but we really need to do that before we go into anything. What am I telling myself right now?
We talked about that yesterday, too. This came out in our staff directors meeting, too, as we're talking about kind of the budget side, financial side. And there's so much fear right now. Like the story that so many businesses and really executives, there are so many fear-based stories going on right now. Like, the budgets are being cut by millions of dollars, for education. There's a lot of fear out there. And so there's a ton of people that are operating and making decisions every day with a fearful story. Now, think about that. They're making decisions for kids, for whole districts, for whole states, for the country. Massive decisions, from a fearful place instead of from a place of love, a place, and we'll dive into this. This is interesting. So we're teaching kids about these three different states of being, and it's really fascinating to dive into. Some people may have heard of this. It's more new to me. It's called the polyvagal theory. It's basically breaks down the science behind our nervous system, and it just kind of breaks down like there are three branches. There are kind of three states that we are always in and out of one of those states, and it has to do with like physiology. A lot of people for years wrongly thought like our thoughts, our emotions were just kind of invisible, mushy things that are they real? Can you measure them? Where do they live? Well, now we know that they're actually physical. So there's this vagal, I think not everybody, a lot of people have heard of the vagus nerve. Well, that vagus nerve starts in our brainstem and goes all the way down to the visceral organs, like the organs that are core to us, our heart and our lungs and our stomach. And they have like these motor functions, like they impact and run and make sure our heart beats and it's regulated and make sure our breathing's right and make sure our digestion is right. But that top of that vagus nerve is called the ventral vagal. And when we're happy, when we're content, when we're dreaming, when we're empathetic, when we're compassionate, when we have vision, when we have hope, when we're connected socially, when we're safe, that's where we're at. That part of the vagus nerve, that ventral vagal part, the upper part of that nerve, is being utilized and is in a regulated state.
Okay. Can we make that regulated?
We can.
Okay.
Yeah. And when that's regulated, we're good. When that gets dysregulated, we shoot down to a different state. And that vagus nerve goes again from your brainstem and it connects to all those facial nerves, but it goes all the way down to your stomach. And at the bottom is called the dorsal vagal. That's the other end of the vagus nerve, the bottom end of it. And in that state, we can go from happy and have vision and purpose all the way down to the exact opposite. And that's where the system is saying shut down. When we're up here, it's like open up, we're safe, we're up for business, we see the world as a big, beautiful place to explore. When we're down here, it's like the world is dangerous and we're shutting it down. Like we're going to conserve. It's all about survival. We're shutting the system down.
So are you also saying that's when we want to like withdraw?
That's when we withdraw.
With our emotions, like our emotions shut down.
So it happens, we run in and out of these states. It can be in moments, but we can also get stuck there. Like there's probably people here that you live in the ventral state. You live up here. You're always up. And then there's others that are listening and you're like, oh man, that's me. I'm in depression. Or I feel alone. I feel unseen. I feel unheard, like most of the time. And people can get stuck in these states. And we wrongly think this is just who I am. This is the saddest thing to me is so many people are living on planet Earth and they've been labeled and judged and they've embraced those labels and they've been told I'm a bad person. I'm just a sad person. I'm just depressed. I've had too many bad things happen to me. This is just who I am. It's like, that's not who you are. It's where you are. It's actually a state. It's where you are. It's not who you are. It's where you are. Every one of us can come up here, but we don't really know how it works. We just think we have problems. There's something wrong with us. Well, what's wrong with you is you're in the wrong state. If you can learn to shift up a state or two, you can heal and get better.
So how do we shift up?
First, I want to talk about what's in between.
Okay.
So that's the vagus nerve. You have the ventral up here. You have the dorsal way down here. Opposite ends of the spectrum, same nerve. Then we have in our spinal cord, kind of right behind our chest, in this midsection of our back, there's a portion of the spinal cord in the middle. There's a nerve there called, it's referred to as the sympathetic nervous system. And that is where really the fight or flight part of our nervous system is alive and active. So this is when we feel anxious. It's really the part of our body that moves us to action. It gives us energy. So it moves us to either fight to protect ourselves or flee to get away. we can feel energized, we can feel rage, we can feel all kinds of things in that state. So we move in and out of these states throughout our lives and throughout our days. And there's a process, there's ways to actually shift and control that and coming out of those places. But so many people wrongly just think, that's just how I am. And I'm not sure why I'm that way. I'm not sure why I'm there. It's like, well, there are certain triggers that get you there. That if you can learn what those triggers are, you can start to shift up the ladder and not stay stuck.
Okay. We just got a few seconds left here. Can we talk a little bit more about it after the break?
Yeah, let's come back. We'll revisit this at the break. I want to encourage you to go to 5starlife.org to learn more. Again, all this stuff we're talking about, we're going to be dissecting this in the Parent app. Lots of lessons about this coming at you. We'll be right back after this.
Hey listeners, loving what you hear? This is just a reminder that you can listen to the 5-Star Life Show with Coach Seth anywhere you stream your favorite podcasts. I'm talking Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. And don't worry, if you're more of a visual learner, we've got that covered too. Head on over to our YouTube channel or find us on our new program platform partner, Your Home TV. It's easy. Just head online and search for 5-Star Life with Coach Seth. Oh, and while I have your attention, we are just weeks away from the launch of our brand new 5-Star Life Parent app. It's going to be full of practical parenting tools and tips geared towards helping your kids live a 5-star life. Head online to 5starlife.org, where you'll find a button at the top to join the Parent app waitlist and be the first to get notified when it goes live. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm here with my co-host, Coach Mia, and we're having a fun conversation talking about stuff that's really practical. And to me, it's interesting. I'm kind of a nerd, though. Stephen Porges is the one that discovered or created this theory, the polyvagal theory. And like, he's not a clinician. He's not a therapist. He's just a scientist. So it took a while for him to meet some people in the therapy world or clinical world to bring it into practice. And so it's been in practice for a little bit now, but it's gaining so much steam and momentum because there's so much science. It's really mixing, body and mind together, right? That somatic kind of our body and our mind together and our feelings and our emotions, mixing all that together in a scientific way that actually makes sense. Which I love that kind of stuff. It's super fascinating to me. But yeah, I can't believe it's not very popular. Not very known. Most people don't know about it.
And I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but it's interesting. So then what does medication do? It obviously has to throw that off or stunt something.
Yeah, so I mean, medication, that's what pharmaceutical companies do. They research and design, interventions that you can digest and that they're made to regulate that for you, which, everybody's got an opinion about that. I'm not gonna get into the controversial weeds here. I will say this: most of the families we deal with that have kids on meds, it's like a roller coaster, right?
Right.
It can help and it can hurt, and it depends on. I think that people in the scientific community, most people would agree that there's an argument over this. But there's two camps. There's one camp that says, absolutely, got to be medicated. They're going to need to be on this the rest of their life. Whole nother camp that would say, absolutely not, never use it, don't use it. And then there's a camp in the middle that says, use it. There's a time and a place for it. When a kid is not safe and they're not in their right self and they need to quiet the noise a little bit, some medication is helpful, but it's not meant to be a long-term fix. They have to learn the skills to actually process life. And that's what 5-Star Life does. That's what we're giving them. So I think there's both sides, and I would say 5 stars somewhere in the middle. Like, let's get the skills so that you don't have to be on medication. It's interesting, too. Got to be close to 100%. It's not 100%, but very close to 100% of the kids in the families. The kids, high percentage, want to be off medication. It's so interesting to me that 12 years old, 14, 16, like they are like, I don't want this. It's so interesting. Like, because we don't tell them what to do,
right?
But we just ask them, like, what do you think? They're like, I can't stand this. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like that and so they're hungry to learn, and they feel so empowered when they can actually start to take some responsibility, some control over regulating their own emotions, their own thoughts, their own behaviors, that's where they get empowered. It doesn't, it happens, within weeks, they're getting traction. Within months, they're a lot different.
So you're saying, though, that there are skills to regulate the vagus nerve.
There is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different skills. And what we start with kids is we just say, listen, it starts with awareness. You first have to understand, because going back to the second segment we talked about, like we are the stories we tell ourselves. If I'm believing the story because maybe I've been highly emotional and I fight or yell or scream or do things that are inappropriate to my cousins, my friends, and it's caused problems with my relationships, it's caused problems at schools. Well, the story that they're telling themselves is I'm a bad kid. I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. And there are so many kids that believe that, and there's so many parents that don't believe that, but finally after years give in and think, I guess they're just a bad kid. And my news to every kid and every parent is there are no bad kids. Like, there are bad states. Like, and think about this. The fun thing about this is that's a scientifically proven, you can say science says there are no bad kids, there are bad states. So when you're in a bad state, there are certain automated responses. And that's the interesting thing about it. Like, if I'm in a place of, if I'm anxious, like if I'm triggered by, and that's what we talked to kids about, like there are certain things that trigger these shifts in states, or there are things that kind of glimmers, these things that can move you out of a negative state into a higher state. And if you know what they are, you can move up and down quick, and you can start to, we're brilliant, so we can train ourselves. Okay, last time I did this, I know this is a trigger. I'm going to be prepared for this. I'm not taking the bait. I'm not going down the ladder. I'm staying right here. That's how good it can get. That's power. That's influence. That's self-regulation. But often it starts with co-regulation, which is a 5-star coach. We're going to walk this together. We're co-regulating. I'm going to teach parents so parents can co-regulate their kids. Like, that's a really powerful part of them learning. Come alongside of them. We're co-regulating. Now they're going to learn the tools to self-regulate. That's the process. And that's what great parenting does. And that's why, again, we talk about our parent app. I see it everywhere I go. Like, literally just about every day everywhere I go, because I'm constantly watching interactions at the store, at the beach. I'm at the beach, and there is a dad and mom and 3 kids, and the dad is probably stressed out from a long weekend or a long week, and his kid is probably 9 years old. His kid's in the sand, and the dad walks by and he's like, "Get the F up." And just harsh and critical and mean. And it's like there are reasons why kids and adults are triggered by certain words, by certain situations. That there's this felt experience that our nervous system doesn't ever forget. It holds all those memories, all those situations, and anything that reeks or is familiar to that situation, all of a sudden the nervous system, before our mind perceives, I'm not talking about perception. I'm talking about our nervous system is way ahead. And it's a term that they call neuroception. Neuroception is when these neurons fire, and before you can even respond, the neuroception is picking up, this is familiar, this is dangerous, you need to shut down, or you need to fight, or you need to flee. Happening like this.
Wow. Well, what do we do?
Well, that's where awareness comes in.
Okay.
Once you're aware, once you bring awareness, you can start to rewire yourself. You can start to train yourself, right? And start to send some different signals to your nervous system, right? Because we are in charge if we choose to be in charge. Otherwise, if we don't choose to be in charge, our nervous system is just responsive, but it's adaptive, right? It's adapting to what we teach it. That's power.
That is power.
Yeah, so it's interesting stuff. But for kids, we start with, hey, here's the process. Here's the 3 states. You have the top of the ladder is up here where there's peace, there's calm. The second rung down the ladder, by the way, up here there's clarity. So anytime you drop down, you're in anxiety or you're in fear, you can't be in empathy or compassion when you're in fear. So when you think about people that are afraid and they fight or flight or they flee or they shut down, they're in the most selfish states of being. They're not thinking about anybody else. They can't see anybody else.
And you know, it's so interesting. And you go to those people and you get nothing from them, and then you're even more agitated and irritated but they're not capable.
They're not capable. And we wrongly judge them and shame them when what we all need to do is learn about how this system works so we can help them. Right? Because one of the simple ways we shift up the ladder, co-regulation. It's a person. It's a glimmer of hope. I see you. You're loved. I'm sorry you don't feel well today. I'm sorry you're not doing good today. Now, there is a point where they have to take it. Right?
Right.
You can't force them to climb the ladder. They have to want it. But I'm talking about those people that want it. And most people want it. If they've been in that state for a long time, it's tougher. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.